New York's been here for a long time. Why did it take so long to open such a presence or big presence here?
Well, it wasn't from a lack of effort. Really, it's the only subject I can think of that has spanned, literally generations for our company. My dad's, when we opened our men's store last year, I asked him when was the first time he came to New York and thought about having a store. He paused and he said, it was right when I first became president of the company. I was 35. Well, he's 86 now. So it's a long time. The biggest challenge, certainly location. Obviously, to have a retail store location is important.
Well, you said to me that you guys even looked at the location that is our building, our Bloomberg headquarters.
Yes. Alexander's used to be here, right. And I know my dad and my uncles made a run at it, but Bloomberg outbid us. So we didn't get this one. Had a couple others, actually signed deals that... there's a complexity to doing a big urban project, and they fell through. But the big challenge, even more so than location, was the right space. For what we do, and knowing if we were to come here, we had to be our very, very best. And so the space is super important for us to have high ceilings, big open space where customers can easily navigate and find what they're looking for, discover new fashion. And most buildings are office buildings. They're low ceilings and elevators in the middle. Ideal. So this area not only came up that we really like being a little oriented towards the west side, but being able to start from the ground and build the building that we want, really what tipped us over.
And certainly accessible from both the east and west side, uptown, downtown, in terms of kind of a central location.
Sure, yeah. I look for things. There's three kind of constituencies. Certainly start and really end with locals, people who live here. How are we a part of the city, a part of the neighborhood? So this location thing we think does that. There's obviously a lot of people commute in to work, and so the subway stops, transportation is important.
Right.
And then there's visitors. New York's such a great international destination, and to be close to the biggest tourist attraction in New York, Central Park and Columbus Circle there, we felt really good about.
I got to talk to you about the environment, Erik. I know you read the headlines, you follow obviously your space, but I think about Lord & Taylor closing, Saks closing a downtown location, Bendel's closing, Barney's going into bankruptcy. I think some people would say, wait, why are you doing this? Why, how has that factored in terms of some of the closings and what you folks wanted to do?
Well, yeah, there's certainly our industry, like a lot of industries, going through tremendous change, and but it's actually not that much change. It's people shop as they want to shop. I certainly believe that customers are more empowered than ever before, less willing to compromise any of their experience with shopping, including in that. And in our industry, we talk about things like omni-channel, and
I know you guys hate that, from what I've read.
Well, yeah. I talk to customers every day, and I've never had a customer use the word channel with me. It's not how they think. They just want great experiences, and the reality is, if you are to force a definition of channel, the vast majority of the categories we sell are bought in stores, but much more accurately is people are on their phones and they're in physical locations, and they want it when they want it. They want it on their terms. And certainly New York is the greatest retail center, certainly in our country and maybe in the world. And for us to be a leader in our industry, and we've been at this a long time, and we've been a national company for a long time, but to really be the leader that we think we can be, we have to have our best presence in New York.
But I do think people think, okay, so how will Nordstrom be different than maybe some of the troubles that a Lord & Taylor fell into? Or I'm not saying you guys are apples to apples, or, Saks closing downtown, or Bendel's. Like, how will it be different for you?
Well, first of all, there's a lot of success stories out there. If you expand the definition of retail, a lot of categories, which we can get into, but there's a lot of stores and retailers that I would admire. But again, we've always been well served focusing on the customer. We started as a shoe store over 100 years ago. I grew up selling shoes. And one of the things about selling shoes is you are literally on your hands and knees in front of the customer trying to take care of them. Yeah. And that it's a good metaphor for how we try to continue to run the business. And if we focus on the customer, and certainly the customer wants things that are different, and building a new physical store today gives us some advantages. We have technology built into the store. Wi-Fi, cell service, connectivity, so customers can be on their phone, and a lot of product discovery for what we sell, fashion,
right,
begins online. And we know that over half of our store sales involve a visit to our website, usually on someone's phone. So there's a lot of features we can build there, and the architecture of the place is very different. Historically, and we have found this over the years, historically retail, especially mall-based retail, has been very inwardly focused, almost like a fortress. You enter a different environment and it's
cut off from the rest of the world.
It's sealed off from the rest. We want to do just the opposite.
Well, in keeping with that, I mean, you guys are incorporating food, and I'm curious, right? You can be shopping, you can order some food, it's delivered to you on a nice plate.
Yeah,
tell us
food or drink, yes.
Tell us how important, is that going to become kind of a significant separate revenue line for you guys, potentially?
It's not so much about a revenue line. It is one of the things we've really learned as we continue to get better information is the importance of engagement, just experiences. Whether there's a sale made explicitly in that engagement or not isn't so much the point. The point is the more we can engage customers, and food and drink is part of that.
And keep them there, essentially?
Well, not only keep them there, even if they don't spend at that time.
I love it, because I think about when I'm shopping and I get hungry and then I leave and then I don't go back.
Yeah, we don't like that. That's but there is that part, but there's also, even if people don't spend in that time, the more we can engage somewhere where it's another piece of engagement. People come back more often.
Right.
Digitally, in physical locations, the more we can engage them. And food is such a, it's such a sensory experience, often more so than a lot of other experiences. It really is important.
Tell us about how important this store in New York will be to Nordstrom overall in terms of sale. Because typically, or a lot of times you see with these big chains or department store and the high end, that the flagship in New York is typically a big driver in terms of revenues. Will this be your number one driver of revenues?
We'll certainly be our biggest store. Absolutely. It will be our biggest volume store by a healthy margin. It won't be as big a percentage of our revenue as it is most of the other competitors we have there. We're a bigger company that way. So it's not...
it's not going to be the biggest driver in terms of revenues?
Well, it'll be the biggest single revenue store we have, yes. But we have 120 stores.
Right.
So it's, it's not 20% of the company's revenue by any means. But as important, it is the most important thing we've done. The visibility of being in New York, and certainly that was our goal. We didn't aim to open another Nordstrom store. We aimed to build really a world-class flagship store. Our team spent several years scouring the world and really trying to pull out those elements. Food and drinks, one of them. Right. What makes these world-class flagship stores that are really become these integral parts of the city, of urban life, and that's been our goal.
A destination.
Yeah.
For locals and others. I am curious too about the holidays. Have you guys? I mean, your timing is impeccable, as we're all gearing up for the holidays. What are your expectations for fourth quarter? Can you talk a little bit about what?
Well, I would say it's a challenging environment out there. I think there's some reasons to be optimistic for holiday, and
I've seen some numbers that we expect it to be maybe a little bit higher than what we've seen in the recent past.
I've seen that too. Us retailers, we tend to be optimistic, but I think there's reasons to be optimistic for holiday.
Tell me about the consumer overall, because I love talking to folks like you, because I think we are at this time where we're trying to figure out, is the expansion getting old? The big macro stories continue to bother us, whether it's trade, whether it's Brexit, and so on and so forth. How do you see the U.S. consumer right now? And I know you're higher end, but still.
Oh, sure. Well, we have a pretty broad range. It's we really, we talk about carrying from Vans to Valentino. I mean, that is a key part of what we do, is having a breadth of merchandise, and really think that's how a modern customer shops today, that a customer doesn't buy one brand and stick to it or even one price point. There's a mix and matching that people put together. That's part of fashion. That's part of the interest of expressing who you are. The health of the customer is good, but what we focus on, it's much more about what we do. I mean, we're not in an industry where there's this massive market share and really any movement has to be at a market level. There's plenty of places to buy shoes and clothes, so our success is much more on what we do.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting that you say that, because when you look at some of the retailers that have had problems, I mean, I really do feel like if you shop at Nordstrom, you know exactly what you're getting. The brand is very clear, the identity in terms of the store and the stores. And those that don't do it,
listen,
about all the fallout that we've seen in retail. Are we overstored?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, we're overstored. There's that's not big news flash that America has too many malls, too many stores, and when you have a shift to go online, people are online more now. Are there going to be no stores? Well, of course not. There's times where, especially what we sell, people like to touch, feel the sizes. I think it's interesting that our online returns, the vast majority, customers choose to come in a store to do it. We have free shipping around our online returns, but they'd rather come to store. It's just easier than putting it in a box. So customers are going to do what they want to do. Our job is not to try to coerce them into a channel or a certain experience that what we prefer.
But give them options.
Yeah, our challenge is to give them options and let them do what they want to do.
You guys definitely do give them options. And I want to talk a little bit about Nordstrom Local, which I find is a fascinating concept. And I think we reported this past fall that you guys are also going to accept merchandise returns from rivals. Is that right?
Yeah, we do.
Why?
Well, it's not that big a deal.
It doesn't cost you, though, to do that?
No, basically we're a hub for UPS. We can, if that helps a customer, for us to take it and UPS.
Do you get sales out of that?
Well, we get sales out of traffic. Traffic's good. Interaction's good by any measure. And these local service hubs have really been a real interesting and we think an important part of our future. It really is looking at what are the assets that we can bring where customers live to serve them better. Certainly we have stores, but sometimes getting in the car and going to the mall is not the most convenient. I think one of the interesting things we've learned from these service hubs. It's
like tailoring.
So we don't we don't stock merchandise in there, but it's services. So it's being able to do returns, merchandise pickup, buy online, pickup in the store, alterations, styling help. Our stylists can meet their customers there.
They're doing well.
Oh, really well. And one of the interesting things is there's all sorts of things. customers, their spending is more than doubles when they interact with us in one of the local stores. But I think one of the interesting little effects there is we get returns back faster. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but part of selling fashion, especially online, returns are a fact of life.
Right.
And what we sell, it's not wine. It doesn't get better with age. There is a perishability to it. So getting it back faster is good for us, certainly for our model. But it reflects that when we hear from customers is, I've had this return in my trunk and I'm waiting to go to the mall.
Yeah.
And if I could do it more conveniently. So it is serving customers on their terms. And we piloted these stores in Los Angeles, and we opened 2 here in New York last month. And it's been a bit of we're in Los Angeles, communicating to customers what it was took a little bit.
Yeah.
Here, right off the bat, people get it, and I think it's understandable. I mean, if you live in Manhattan,
right.
Blocks matter. You don't have your SUV pulling up to a big parking lot. So, but to be able to do an alterations or a return or an order pickup in your neighborhood on your terms is appealing, and we're able to do it. Not only these local service hubs. Our rack stores, we can do a lot of these services in our rack stores. We have a Trunk Club clubhouse here in Manhattan. So we really look at not just opening a store here this week. It's how can we leverage these assets we have, physical assets, to serve customers better.
Well, what I do think, and it's funny, we were talking about actually in our makeup room this morning about that there's not a lot of service out there when you go to retail. So I think, you guys are certainly really honing in on it. But so what I want to know is you've got the big Nordstrom department stores. You've got Nordstrom Local. You've got discount, right? You've got, various ways of interacting with the consumer. Online, of course, e-commerce. What's the makeup, I don't know, in 3 years from now in terms of what's the biggest driver? I mean, e-commerce has been growing pretty fast for you guys.
Yeah, e-commerce is about 30% of our business,
Yeah.
which was usually a bigger chunk than some of our more direct competitors. We've been at it for a long time. We've been in e-commerce over 20 years. I kind of cringe when you get these questions of what do you see in 3 to 5 years? No one knows. I mean, someone to come on here and say they know what's going to happen in 3 years, I would challenge them on that.
But is all of that then going to continue to be an important mix?
Yeah, I think the point is the challenge is to be nimble, is to be agile. And how do you have a platform, capabilities that you can pivot to go where the customer is going? So to have, for us, there really is a synergy to having a full-price business, an off-price business, e-commerce, and physical stores.
Right.
And to your point, physical stores have some different elements to them. What's the right mix? The right mix of those ingredients to take care of customers? I think that'll differ store by store. But a couple of general areas that I do believe it's heading in. I've talked about engagement's important. How can we engage with customers across channels and services to make their lives easier and better? The other is inventory. It's what we sell. It's not commodities. We don't have hundreds deep in the exact same thing. There's a broad breadth, and it can be pretty shallow, especially when you get down to size and color. And our inventory, a lot of it sits in stores, which is close to our customers. And being able to connect the customer with the exact size and color they want by moving the merchandise around in a market, which we continue to add capabilities to, and the locals those stores are part of it. We can bring a much bigger selection to customers that can be available even same day and next day. Really more than anyone else can do it because we have this inventory in our stores.
Right. And so customers can get it when they want it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple of questions, if I may, in terms of the toughest long-term strategy decision that you're working on right now. I know you hate long-term. I already heard.
I don't hate long-term, but it's to be more prepared for the long-term. Well, I think we have, so much of our focus has been on, and big investment has been in opening New York. And so what comes after that? For us, most of our investments after we get New York open is in technology and supply chain. And there's a lot of technology in supply chain. And the supply chain capabilities to unlock that inventory to be productive and get customers really what they want in a lot of speed takes some continued investment there, and that's probably the biggest challenge.
Trade wars impacting you that much?
Not yet. No.
Okay. All right. What's the biggest existential threat to your company or industry?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think these things will happen, but I think if people all of a sudden, just looked at clothing and shoes and accessories as commodities, it's just body covering, and they didn't care what the brand is, and it's that we wouldn't survive that. That's not our deal.
Right.
We have to be a place where people are interested in finding something new that's interesting to them.
Shoes will never be a commodity. I'm just laying it out
I don't
there.
think so.
What competitor do you most admire and why?
There's a lot of retailers that admire. I think Target does a terrific job. Home Depot. I think Walmart, for a big, incredibly big retailer, for some of the big bets they made and the things they have changed. Best Buy is something that they've done, and a lot of them. There's some common threads there of connecting the digital and physical experiences, leveraging the inventory that's in their stores, and on top of that, I think for us, we'd layer again the importance of people and kind of genuine human interaction and an authenticity there. But those are some of the people I think do a great job.
I got to ask you this because I can't imagine you because of your last name and your family and multi-generational. But if you weren't doing what you're doing, and I know you've been doing it for a long time. You started when you were younger, as you say.
Started when I was 12. Yeah.
What else might you be doing?
Well, it certainly wasn't, as a teenage boy, it wasn't my dream to, I grew up in women's shoes, stocking and selling women's shoes. It wasn't that I had a passion for women's footwear. I would have rather been a basketball player, but
you certainly have the height.
I had the height, but I don't have the jumping for that. So when that ended, I don't know. I mean, really, in all genuineness, it's. I've always enjoyed work with my family and my brothers. We're been very close all our lives, and but mostly what I've liked is it's a team. When I was part of the shoe team, and part of shoes is you got the stock room and the back room that you have to get the merchandise for the customers.
I've always wondered what goes on behind there.
It's fascinating, but there's a camaraderie there, and I always like being a part of a team, and that's what we have in our company. I mean, it's a big team, but it's. I was just at our store this morning, and our team's all fired up to open tomorrow, and it's I just feel very fortunate to have these people who are so passionate, and they're terrific people, and that they've
they're on the front line.
Well, yeah, and that they made a decision to hitch their wagon to us and be part of this thing is not something I take lightly. So I don't know what else I'd be doing, but it would be part of being a team.